we have a panel coming up on going back to basics to truly understanding what is physical AI. And I mean, that's the theme as to why we're here today and tomorrow. And for this, we have our moderator, our lovely Mark, who is the co-organizer of this event, as well as a PhD at ETH. I finally learned how to say it, Zurich. And he is also building Wi-Fi. So with that said,
I have my mic. And I will welcome my fellow panelists to the stage. So one is Theo. Are you here? Yeah. You just come up, Eugene and Alexandre. So big warm applause for all three of them. Maybe let's sit like it's there, like you can sit here. Like, yeah, makes sense. And people know who we are. So they ask questions. Oops, I'm actually very happy about this panel. So like we have Theo with us, who are like really building like in the field this AI sensing network, or basically for AI. So as we just heard from Thomas, and then we have Eugene, an expert in physical AI, building these intelligence for robots. And Alexandre, who's like having a background in swarm robotics, so robot swarms, how they interact with each other, equipping them with some intelligence within them. And I think together they form a very solid basement to discuss what physical AI actually is. And this would be my starting. Hello? Okay, let's change it now. This would be my starting question. For each one of you, maybe very quick, or as you think, like, what is physical AI?
So I'm Theo, one of the co-founders of Silencio. Thomas just made my job way easier. I guess I don't have to talk too much about Silencio. For us, we are seeing a world where robots are hitting the street, and they have to, we heard this before actually from you, the biggest challenge for that to happen is AGI. And for that to happen, we need data at scale, especially field data, and that's where we want to come in.
1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. In reality, I'm on the same page. So whenever you can wake up and everything in your house will be automated, you don't do anything. You don't need to build a house or go to work to do any physical stuff. That's probably physical AI is part of our life in such case. And yeah, that's super correlated with AGI probably. Yeah.
The mic is off, so we need to use one.
Yeah, for me, physical AI is the embodiment of AI in a physical device. Robot is a very general term to refer to these devices, right? A robot can be many things depending on how you define it. But yeah, any other physical device that is intelligent can be considered physical AI.
Okay, so like with Silencio, you kind of had this natural evolution, like in sensing the environment, like for these new applications which are coming. And my question is like, could you have done it without DePIN, or like this DePIN approach? And how do you see like Web3 as a unique enabler, or is it like a natural thing which could also have happened somewhere else?
Definitely. Maybe also adding on to the first question, I realized I didn't really answer that clearly. So the definition of that would be bits leaking into atoms, I suppose, into the real world. And towards your second question, there are many competitors out there training models now on conversational data. It's one of the clearest signals in the market. However, one thing that we learned, or many things that we learned in the last years, but we're really good at sourcing data ethically and at scale. And having that distribution makes it easier now to expand to further data sets. So it is a natural evolution. I think that's one competitive advantage that we have, having an existing network, having that network effects already present in the vertical of audio. For sure, you can do it in a centralized way, but doing so decentrally is much cheaper and much faster.
Okay, and I mean, you have built like this large network. I think you were like, I don't know, like at least for me, one of the first DePIN projects which really used the phone, like kind of in sensing environment, and kind of through this like achieving this scale. What are your lessons learned around being a mobile phone DePIN project?
So Thomas and I, we started, I think, our crypto journey sometime 2016, and it wasn't until Helium, and we heard this often today, Helium being referred as one of the prime examples of DePIN today. And we love that idea of using, so to say, tokens to coordinate human behavior to achieve a net positive outcome for society in the real world. And one thing that we learned, however, with Helium or any physical device DePIN, and it makes sense for many DePINs out there, not for all maybe, is that they have scalability issues to build coverage that is dense and that is commercially viable. And software gives you an advantage to reward actions based on the value that you can commercialize. And so the iteration stage is obviously much shorter than in hardware. We speak to our clients who understand exactly how they want the data. We then turn around and reward exactly those actions. So that's just a competitive advantage, I suppose, of software-based. And obviously, if you're tapping into idle infrastructure, you can scale much faster than with supply chain issues around hardware constraints. So in our case, tapping into initially smartphones, there's 6 to 7 billion estimated smartphones out there. That gives you a huge advantage. And then further down the line, there's going to be 50 billion IoT devices by 2030 connected. And we aim that many of those can deliver data to our network.
Okay, thanks. And maybe to you, Eugene, like you're coming from, I mean, you're developing LeRobot, like this physical AI library from Hugging Face. And I mean, in the first glance, it's like kind of disconnected from crypto. I mean, it's a very useful tool for the community, basically, who are more in AI and robots. And my question would be to you, like, how do you see crypto fitting to your work? And do you have any thoughts on it?
Okay. Firstly, I think it's if we on the stage when we connect crypto with robots, it's really cool. I think it means it's the like the field is pretty mature. For now, like I don't see like big connections, but we really have big issues with data because we don't have it. Need a lot of like diverse data from like houses, from like ideally from every second of every human life, ideally with a robot, and nobody like knows how to solve it yet. We're trying to go other way, like our way, just doing hackathons, like doing cheap robots so people can use it and we can train later on this data. A company is going another way for now. They just buy it, like OpenAI made it when they began. Maybe exist some connections on that. So maybe like it's possible to build some network where people will collect data and send it for some reward to the companies or share it for everybody. The only problem here is that need high quality data. To have high quality data, you also need diverse data. So you should collect good data, and you should also have a robot to collect data. Robots expensive, and nobody will buy that for that purpose. So there is like a lot of open questions, and I don't know how should it work, but theoretically, maybe somebody will find this way.
Yes, I thought so that someone would be fitting very well in. So I will just hand over.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few possible ways that that robots can interact with the blockchain. One can even be just at the level of development, right? Companies using the robots as a shared development platform enabled by blockchain. If you have a centralized company that is in the middle handling the data and the communication between the robots as a shared infrastructure service and other startups that want to maintain their intellectual property and their ability to develop in their own little silos. I think you need a decentralized platform in the middle that manages in a fair and transparent way these interactions. And I think that can lead to the propelling of robotics into the real world, the fact that startups and companies can work together in developing these platforms. That's one way. Another way is also the robots themselves communicating through the blockchain. So you can think of robots from different companies, robots that are belonging to different stakeholders, but in order to operate together, they need to adhere to very strict protocols for exchanging information, exchanging clients, exchanging the market that they are operating on among between each other. And of course, having a centralized company in the middle of all of this would give them too much power. And the Web3 and the blockchain systems can provide an alternative solution for that.
And maybe a follow-up question, because you are talking already about the role of blockchain in this realm, and because like I think like there's this one concept that we have like at some point these AI gods potentially, like kind of a all-knowing centralized entity, like kind of knowing things and directing us, and then you could see it also from the opposite way, like there's this concept of like bringing the AI to the edge, like more in a decentralized paradigm. And I know that from your work, you're also very much inspired by nature and like how natural systems are working. What are your thoughts on where will this AI realm move to, maybe also in connection with physical AI? And what do you think, like in particular, how blockchain fits into it, or what will it enable?
I mean, if the global AI that is regulating all the robots and all the interactions is truly a godlike entity that is omnipresent, omniscient, and perfect, and not biased at all, sure, let's go for the centralized one. It'll be more efficient. But in a real system, that's not what's going to happen, right? There will be there will be biases. There will be someone in charge of this central AI. So even though there are like different, let's say, paradigms towards the design of robotic systems, right? Some people claim that robotic systems can scale if they operate on the cloud because you will have less costs on the robots. The robots will just be an brainless, empty shell, while we delegate everything to the cloud. Sure, that can reduce costs in some aspects, but what we do in our research in swarm robotics, it's more like putting a brain on each robot such that they can communicate in peer-to-peer interactions, and that's what's going to give the system ability to scale through these local interactions between the robots. Now, at the same time, this is also introduces a very difficult challenge, which is how to coordinate at a global scale all of these independent AI agents, right? And in my research, that's what I did. I introduced the blockchain as a decentralized brain, shared memory system for all of those AI agents that they can always refer back to once it is synchronized globally, and all of them can refer back to the information, the knowledge that is on the blockchain. Or if we generalize it, an AI that is on a global blockchain, they can refer back to that knowledge to guide their own local actions. Now, should they always follow this AI? Should they just blindly trust it? In my opinion, no. I think there needs to be a mix of the two systems. So you have a higher level AI or a higher level set of rules that are followed by all the agents, but each one of them needs to maintain their locality, their individual actions, their individual protocols, and use as a guideline the instructions or the information that is provided by an higher level source of global AI. And yeah, and then of course you can build some tokenomics on top of that. Did you do better than what we would have been like for the group? Did the group perform better because of your individual decisions, or did you choose individual decisions that were greedy and actually did not contribute to the group goals? And all of those systems are to be investigated.
Okay, so we have something to tell about that.
Okay, cool. I have kind of experience there. Firstly, nobody uses AI now in production, right? So the only workable robots work as pretty old pre-programmed ways in manufacturers. We have a bunch of companies who trying to build, like I said, VLAs. Like market really expect a lot of things from VLAs. It's like people praying on that for now. And what happens now? Nobody knows how will it work in reality. And having like launching big model in your end device is pretty expensive. So you need to have a lot of GPU and RAM and all this stuff. It's pretty difficult. Good alternative, make it remotely, like your model just send requests as like you do it with LLM to some cloud, return, like you receive back actions and actions applying to the robot. Nobody knows how it will work. For now, everybody goes both ways in reality, but my like prediction that probably we firstly will go the way with remote async. Why? Because guys who are doing models now, they don't want to build robots. They want to build a business for selling tokens, as guys from LLMs doing that. So probably we will begin with this, and maybe later when will come more optimization, it will finish with end devices with like local GPUs, inference, and all this stuff. So yeah.
Maybe a thought on the swarm analogy that I was still thinking. So using blockchain to coordinate exactly the long tail principle of never-ending data labeling and sourcing, that's one application that is very valuable today, I suppose, for these models.
And yeah, I mean, I liked this view that kind of it might be an end, because we had like our first DePIN day, like on energy, we were discussing like decentralized energy or centralized energy, and we had like huge discussions. And then we had like all the time, like we had a work stream which was called decentralized or centralized, and then the group came back and they said basically we kind of agreed it's decentralized and centralized, like kind of an end. So like the different paradigms, and another repeating theme which I hear lots, like what you mentioned, Eugene, like this data quality aspect. And when now like Silencio is crowdsourcing all this data, like how do you make sure like the quality, or that what are your approaches to that?
Yes, we always say that wherever there's money to be made, there's people trying to game the system and cheat it. And so I think we spend a fair time trying to figure that out. And we have our systems in place. But now, for example, with this platform that Thomas mentioned that we're launching with Voice AI, the idea is that users have to verify that a reading is in fact saying what the text says. And so it needs 5 independent verifications in order to be accredited, and only then does it get that reward. And so I think just let the network figure a system out that individuals have to independently verify a reading versus a centralized position of ours, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to verify all these, hopefully, millions of readings.
So I think like when we listen to the mechanism design guys, they also said like I think like one needs to implement kind of a way to also adapt like later on like these mechanisms. And here now like I think like this adaptation, or like where things are heading to, maybe it's a too far stretch. I don't know if I can make the point, but we also see like these human robots, like these humanoid robots now coming. Like it was my Twitter stream, I think like quite a lot, like different DePIN projects having them. And is this like kind of a new frontier, like Eugene, do you think, or is it like something we have seen before? Because like you're programming a lot like these robots with one arm, like these ones, and what are the differences, and is it a breakthrough, or how would you judge it?
Okay, regarding what we have now, it's just because we're building just infrastructure, we experiment with simple things, right? So, and the idea that if we have the models that work with simple robots, they will we can train them and work with more harder robots. So yeah, like more complex ones. So yeah, like this is the way how it goes. And
Why do you think it's such an appeal for companies to go after humanoid robots right now? I mean, even I have felt that pressure, giving advice to companies, and yeah, it seems that everyone wants to use humanoid robots. Why?
Okay, the main problem that's people are not so smart, and they so it's easier to sell for VCs the idea of humanoid robots, and that's why everybody wants to do this. But in reality, exists a nice company which is called Collaborative Robotics. They go absolutely opposite way. They say, no, we don't want to build humanoid robots. We see our future something like a Star Wars, when we have a lot of specific robots, and they go this way, they build this way, and I kind of agree with them. With humanoids, we have a lot of problems, like it's dangerous for humans, it's difficult, like it's pretty useless, like what humanoid can do, like nothing in reality, just yeah, yeah, pick up and walk. Well, it's not very useful, and there is a lot of issues with that. And I think we will come up to this point, but I'm not sure that it will be like the closest future. And yeah, but it's easier to sell it for VCs, so that's the case.
So are you not trying to sell like audio data to humanoid robots?
Ideally down the line, and that's exactly what we were discussing earlier. That's where the money is, I think, for once, but also right now for us, it's a big chunk of vision that we're breaking down into baby steps. And the first one is really just conversational data. As unexciting as that sounds, that's where the signal is, and that's what we're being paid for. And so along the process to capture further value, we want to develop our own models, ideally that we can then infuse robots with. But for now, it's just spoken language to text or vice versa. And yeah, we're being paid for it. So
Sounds more pragmatic. No, sounds good. Let's open the floor. Are there like questions in the audience to the panelists? I will walk around because we just have one mic. No questions? Yeah. Oh, two. Okay. The researchers are saving us.
Hi, thank you for the insightful conversation here. My question is about data quality. What he was saying about validation, like you can ask people to verify, whether it's accurate or not. But then with AI and everything, you can also have bots, that can do the trick and still try to game the system. So, and also, if you need data to make decisions like policy decisions or any other big decisions, you need to make sure in the end that the data is of the highest quality. So are there any other methods that you are using or thinking about which could be more effective?
Yes, so if you, for example, have Uber yourself, you will have seen that you have a score yourself, and an Uber driver could even reject you. And that's something that we're installing or have in place as well. So if you're being constantly rejected by the user you're reading or other users, then obviously you rank down and it multiplies. In short, doing good rewards you higher than doing bad. And yes, there will be people trying to game the system again with some voice AI trying to respond this, and we would have to analyze those cases and individually. There's a lot in abnormal human behavior that you can do. For example, with Silencio at the beginning, there's people just moving in weirdly straight lines all the time. That never happens. No human walks constantly for half an hour in a perfectly straight line. There's always people trying to game it, and this will happen to every DePIN out there. And I think, unfortunately, that's something that crypto brings along, is a lot of bad actors as well.
Yes, and the incentives, I mean, like it's always, but like Evangelos had a question.
Thank you very much for the interesting discussion. So we're talking about physical AI, but there is also maybe the opposite trend. You can see it from the other point of view, right? That there's a lot of intelligence that is offloaded, like from physical back to virtual, because it's just like we want to do so many complex stuff. We want to compute, we want to actually do a lot of computations, and autonomous vehicles in the future may not be able to do that. They need to offload it on the edge or even in the cloud if they can tolerate latency. So what do you think about this offloading, and what role the blockchain can play into that?
I saw here a hand.
Yeah, I don't see it as a good thing. Like I see that there is a lot of talk now with cloud robotics, right? And The robot ends up just being an hardware shell that is delegating everything else to cloud services, Amazon, Google, all the big companies. And I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, they continue doing what they are good at, which is the software and controlling all the data and all the information that is going through them. And the robot developers are just left with an hardware device that cannot operate on its own. So I think that's a bad thing. So I also like to see the robots in a blockchain stack, not just as they are providing something, but they can actually be users of services that are being provided in a more decentralized and ethical way through the blockchain. And this includes all the beautiful things that people are proposing here in these DePIN conferences, things like storage, computation, AI, ethical AI that is being provided to the robots in a decentralized way. And then yes, they can benefit from these services, they can hire them and operate in the sort of mixed model that I was talking about. They still have some local intelligence, they still have to hire these services and be agents, but they don't need so much onboard computation abilities or storage because they can hire it from the blockchain.
I think we have time for one more question. Yes, Kai.
Thanks. Maybe a question to Eugene and Alex. In your vision, who's owning the robots? And if we still have time, like who's producing them and versus the producer, let's say, of the protocol?
The short answer is China. If the long answer, so it depends. Probably it will be some companies, like as in my talk, I said a figure. Probably they will produce something. Of course, some Chinese companies will produce something. But the idea of having centralized inference for models for robots is good because you can have one robot, but the brain of that will be like some provider, like it could be OpenAI, Mistral, or somebody else, or Physical Intelligence, or any other company. So it probably will work this way. At least I talk with startups now, and everybody wants at least now try this way a little bit more than others. In the near future, it's a good question. It really depends on manufacturers, like governments, regulations, like maybe something else. So it's not clear. I think it will be like Tesla now. So you have a car and you have a subscription, and it will be updated and all this stuff. It's looks more realistic. Yeah.
That's the last question, right? Yeah, I think initially, the developers of the protocol should be independent from the robots. I think that would be ideal, right? People that are really into mechanism design see it as a challenge. They develop these protocols for providing a fair interaction between the robot stakeholders and the robots themselves. So the robots are acting on behalf of stakeholders, which can be many different companies, individuals. If it's a good democratic system, even an individual can contribute with the robots, and whether it can compete with other more powerful players or not is to be seen. But yeah, but then the stakeholders would be accountable for the actions of the robots because the robots are acting as a collective between all the stakeholders. In more futuristic scenarios, I would love to see robots like the house that owns itself, right? Robots that are really agentic and they can own themselves and provide services from humans without profits in mind, right? They would only require maintenance, and every other profit or extra revenue they make, they can be redistributed towards society. And then no one owns the robots or society owns them as a collective. I think that's the ideal scenario.
Sounds like a nice vision for the future. One round of applause for the panelists.